And then on the captured Americans in Ukraine, I would like to follow up on a comment by my colleague NBC's Keir Simmons with Dmitry Peskov saying that they are not subject to the Geneva Convention. I know that the Biden administration weighed in on this today, but what is your response to Peskov saying that those Americans are not subject to the Geneva Convention and it can't be applied for, quote, soldiers of fortune?
Well, let me start with the issue broadly and just note that we are working hard to learn more about reports of Americans who may be in Russian custody or in the custody of Russian proxy forces. We have been in touch with Russian authorities regarding U.S. citizens who may have been captured while fighting in Ukraine. As I mentioned late last week, we've also been in touch with our Ukrainian partners, with the ICRC, with other countries, as well as with the families of Americans who have been reported missing in Ukraine. We have both publicly as well as privately called on the Russian government and its proxies to live up to their international obligations in their treatment of all individuals, including those captured fighting in Ukraine. We expect, and in fact, international law and the law of war expects and requires that all those who have been captured on the battlefield be treated humanely and with respect and consistent with the laws of war. We once again should take this opportunity to reiterate to Americans the inherent dangers of traveling to Ukraine. For weeks now, we have been urging Americans not to travel to Ukraine because of the attendant dangers that Russia's aggression inside Ukraine poses to U.S. citizens who may be there. Our message to U.S. citizens who are in Ukraine is that they should depart immediately using any commercial or other privately available transportation means. We understand certainly that there are Americans across this country, millions of Americans across this country, who feel motivated to support the righteous and the noble cause of the Ukrainian people. There are ways to do that that work to the direct benefit of the Ukrainian people, ways that are safe, ways that are helpful and constructive. We have many of those ways on our website.
A quick follow-up to that. Does the U.S. government know where these Americans are, and has the Kremlin even confirmed that they have been captured or know where they are?
We have no additional details beyond what's been reported in the media, including by some of your own media organizations. As I said, we've been in direct contact with Russian authorities. We have not been provided either by Russian authorities or by Russian proxy forces or any other entity with additional details of the whereabouts of these Americans. We are pursuing every channel, every opportunity we have to learn more and to support their families, especially in this difficult hour.
Let me. Well, hold on to say, this has to do with the death, and I just want to know one thing. I realize there are privacy concerns. Can you at least say when you learned of this man's death? Because it's a bit odd that the local newspaper obituary from which this news came and which you have now confirmed was published on June 1st.
Yes, my understanding is that we learned of this individual's death several weeks ago. It is not our standard procedures to formally announce when an American has been killed.
But before the obit or after his death on May 25th?
My understanding is that we learned of it before June 1st.
Yeah, on the same point, the Russians claim there are 450 Americans fighting with the Ukrainians. Can you confirm that figure, or is that too inflated? Do you have any way of knowing how many Americans are fighting alongside the Ukrainians?
We don't have any means to corroborate that figure. I would just note that we often encourage Americans and all others to take anything the Kremlin says with a grain of salt. But in terms of that specific piece of information, it's not something I can confirm or refute. Alex?
Position to be a little bit more specific on whom in the Russian government you are in touch with, because Medvedev said over the weekend that we don't have any relationship with the United States. You know, they are at zero on the Kelvin scale, according to him.
Well, I think our embassy officials in Moscow would be surprised to hear that because we do have an embassy in Moscow that continues to function, as I said before, in a different context. It functions under severe constraints, but we have worked hard despite the onerous and unnecessary restrictions that the Russians have imposed on our embassy operations to maintain a fully functioning, or I should say a functioning, embassy compound. Ambassador Sullivan is here in Washington attending the Chiefs of Mission conference, but he will soon be returning to Moscow to lead this small but very capable team at Embassy Moscow. The embassy does regularly take part in exchanges and have discussions with their counterparts in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or elsewhere within the Russian government. One of the issues that the embassy does regularly discuss with their Russian counterparts is the status of Americans who are detained in Russia, the status of our embassy as well, to try to preserve what we believe is a critical outpost. We have done everything we can to preserve lines of communication between the Russian government and the United States. We have done that at great effort, not because we are at a especially rosy time in terms of our relationship, but we believe that during times of conflict, during times of crisis, that channels of communication, including the channel that our embassy affords, is especially vital and is especially important, and it's been a valuable one for us to pass precisely these types of messages.